morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Today we are going to speak about coriander. The scientific name of coriander is Coriandrum sativum linnaeus. The word coriandrum comes from the Greek choris, which means a bug, and andros, male. This is perhaps because the plant itself has a bug-like smell, and the species name sativum means cultivated. Coriandrum sativum belongs to the family Apiaceae. The synonym of Coriandrum sativum, is Selinum coriandrum. The common names of Coriandrum sativum are coriander, in French coriandre, in German coriander, and in Spanish coriandro. The parts used are the fruits. Let us look into the medical history of coriander. Coriander was known of ancient Roman and Greeks, especially the medical doctor Dioscoride. He was personal medical doctor of Nero, and Dioscoride declares that coriander is anti-inflammatory, sedative, and able, if taken at high dose, to induce delirium with indecent talk. For Galen, coriander is tonic. Coriander was known of the Indian physician Sushruta, who lived around the 7th century BC, and it was used in India as a stomachic, which means to help digestion, and a stimulant. We can see in the Materia Medica of the Hindus, in a book published in 1877 and authored by Uday Chand Dutt, who was an Indian physician at that time. He translated ancient Sanskrit text in English, and he writes that coriander is used for internal heat, for thirst, as a carminative, as a diuretic, as a tonic, as aphrodisiac, and enters in numerous Ayurvedic preparations. The Scottish botanist and professor at the University of Edinburgh, Alston, in the 18th century, in his lectures describes coriander as carminative, which means to digest, help digestion, and good for vertigo. Vertigo can be a symptom of high blood pressure. In writings of Pereira, in a book published in 1854, we can read that coriander was used in 19th century North America as an aromatic and a stimulant. And according to Ballard and Baring, a book published in 1845, coriander was mixed with cathartic medicines in order to prevent gripping. So what's come out of all of this? Historically, well, a very well-known spice which has mainly activity to help digestion. Nothing much actually. We can see that the plant was known in ancient Ayurvedic text as a diuretic. Okay, so these are the historical evidence. Let us look now at the today medicinal use of coriander, and especially in Asia. It is used in Turkey for abdominal pain. In Iraq, it is used to digest and also as a diuretic. In Pakistan, it is also used for dysentery, diarrhea, stomach problem, jaundice. And in Iran, it is used also for jaundice. Likewise in India. These are indications that coriander might have beneficial effects. I don't make any claims for the liver. In Bangladesh, it is used for indigestion. I am aware that in Bangladesh, it is a custom to, if I remember well, to take a few seeds of coriander after meals. In Myanmar, it is used for indigestion, stomach diseases in China, likewise in Korea. We've got in the Philippines the use of coriander for diabetes, and here, interestingly, hypertension. And today in Europe, when we read the official text, coriander is used for officially, especially in Germany, for the loss of appetite, flatulence, digestive discomfort, and taken 1 teaspoon crushed in a glass, and to which can be added 150 ml of boiling water and let to infuse for about 6-7 minutes, and take 1 to 3 cups a day after meals. What are the constituents of coriander? These are mainly monoterpenes, volatile monoterpenes, essential oils. These are mainly linalool, gamma-terpinene, alpha-pinene, pecimene, camphor, and geranyl acetate, according to a paper published by Mandal and co-workers in 2015. What are the effects of coriander on the cardiovascular system? Let us look into the papers which have been published for the last about 2 decades. We've got animal studies in which mixing coriander seeds at 10% of high-fat diet for 75 days to rats were able to decrease total plasma cholesterol from about 157 milligram per deciliters to 85 milligram per deciliters. This was published by Dana Pakiam and co-workers in 2007. We also have this time in patients, in diabetic patients, 2 capsules containing 500 milligram of coriander fruits taken daily for 6 weeks by patients with type 2 diabetes was able to decrease glycemia from 172.7 milligram per deciliters to 86 milligram per deciliters. There is also a reduction of LDL cholesterol from 137.8 to 67.5 milligram per deciliters, and an increase of HDL cholesterol in a study published by Parsayan in 2012. In another study, seed powder given at 1 gram per day to diabetic type 2 diabetics for 6 weeks resulted in a decrease of plasma cholesterol from 161.5 to 145.2 milligram per deciliters. There was also a significant decrease in plasma triglycerides and LDL cholesterol, that one from 133 to about 110 milligram per deciliters, in a paper published by Zamani and co-workers in 2022. So evidence available so far tend to demonstrate that in animal model and also in diabetic patients, the intake of coriander seems to decrease cholesterol and also glycemia. What are the effects of coriander on the heart? According to a study published by Patel et al. In 2012, a methanol extract of coriander given prophylactically to rats at the dose of 300 milligram per kilo orally for 30 days prevented myocardial infarction induced by isoproterenol. In a subsequent study published by Diani and co-workers in 2020, aqueous extract given orally for 15 days at a dose of 1 gram per kilo protected rats against isoproterenol-induced heart failure. In 2016, there is a study in which rats given 300 milligram per kilo of coriander for 12 days were protected against barium chloride and potassium chloride induced arrhythmia prophylactically and curatively. So this is very interesting. I am not saying now that coriander is able to treat heart diseases, but my intention is to share with you some evidence pointing to the fact that coriander seems to be able to prevent somehow myocardial infarction and arrhythmia in animals. I don't think there is any studies made on human, and this could be a very interesting subject. Looking into the effects of coriander on the gallbladder, it seems that coriander stimulates the secretion of bile. We have got a study, Dana Pakiam and co-workers in 2007, where 10% of coriander seeds in high-fat diet given to rats was able to increase fecal bile acids from 26.4 to 57.5 milligram per rat per day, and increase fecal neutral sterols from, and this is quite significant, 8.2 to 105.3 milligram per rat per day. So what's happened here is that when bile is the secretion of bile is stimulated, there is a flushing of hepatic cholesterol and therefore decrease of plasma cholesterol. However, if someone suffers from gallstone or bile duct obstruction, it seems that coriander might not be good to take. In regards to the effects of coriander on the kidney, we've got a study published recently by Wang and co-worker in which coriander given to rats subjected to a diet which induces high blood pressure, meaning to say the rats are fed with a lot of salt and fructose. The intake of coriander at 1 to 2 grams per day was able to reduce blood pressure. And what is interesting is that there was an increase apparently in sodium urinary excretion, and this seems to be due to an inhibition of renal reabsorption of sodium. The maximum intake of coriander is, according to an excellent book published by Zigan and co-workers in 2004, should not be more than 3 grams per day. The conclusion for this presentation is quite simple. Coriander is very cheap, available almost everywhere, and for those who are pre-diabetic or obese, overweight, high blood pressure, perhaps the addition of a little bit of coriander at food dose, meaning to say, for instance, just in a normal dose of coriander, like making soups or in salads, okay, not more than 3 grams per day, might be beneficial to decrease blood pressure, plasma glucose, and cholesterol. If you are already a diabetic, or if you have any other condition, please consult your medical doctor. What is interesting also is the results on animals for the heart. So I'm not saying that taking coriander will be able to treat serious heart condition. No, not at all. We just have evidence indicating that in animals, coriander may be able to protect against myocardial infarction. It might be true in human, it might not. So why not adding a little bit of a coriander in your meals? With this, I thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.